All right, today's video is on turning a fraction into a decimal. You have your notes page, so let's go ahead and get started. Yesterday we talked about a decimal to a fraction, so you should be familiar with decimals. All right, so on your notes page, the very first thing, the rule. The rule is I'm going to divide the numerator by the denominator. So to go from a fraction to a decimal, I'm going to divide the numerator by the denominator. So go ahead and write that down. Remember, at any time, pause the video if you need to. All right, so when I do that, I'm going to end up getting two different types of answers. I'm either going to get a terminating decimal or a repeating decimal. And all a terminating decimal means is terminate. To terminate means to end. A terminating decimal means that it will end. Obviously, a repeating decimal means the decimal keeps going on forever and ever, okay? There is another one like pi that is a decimal that just goes on forever that doesn't have any kind of pattern, but we're not going to work with those of decimals, okay? All right, so let's just do some examples. You have this example on your paper, so 5/8. So the rule says to divide the numerator by the denominator. I'm dividing the numerator, this is my numerator, by the denominator, okay? All right, so 8 does not go into 5, so I need to add a decimal and a 0, okay? So now how many times does 8 go into 50? Remember, it's going into that second number. If you need to add a 0 there, do it so that you're in the correct place value. So 8 goes into 50 6 times, that's 48. Subtract. Every time I subtract, bring down the next number. So I'm going to have to bring down another 0. 8 goes into 22 times, that's 18. Subtract. Every time I subtract, bring down the next number. Goes into 20. That's a 16. Whoa, who was telling me that was wrong? That's 40 now. 8 goes into 40 5 times, and I am finished. Okay, so I'm going to bring my decimal straight up. Okay, so that means 5/8 is the same thing as 0.625 or 6 25 thousandths. Okay, it's the same thing. Isn't 5/8 a little bit more than half? So this is a little bit more than half. That makes sense. Okay, let's come over here to a repeating decimal now. So 2/3. So the numerator divided by the denominator. Okay, so I can't do that, so I need to add a decimal and a 0. You should never have a whole number because this is a fraction. This is less than a whole. So 3 goes into 20 6 times. That's 18. Subtract. Every time I subtract, bring down the next number. Okay, goes in 6 again, and I keep getting a 20 there. So I see a pattern, so that means I can stop. This is where I see that repeating decimal. So my repeating decimal is a 6. To show that it's repeating, I'm going to do a 0.6, and I'm going to put a bar on top. This represents a repeating decimal, okay, repeating. Sometimes you will have more than one number that repeats. Sometimes you will have like 23, 23. So do you see that both of those are repeating? So I would just say 0.23 with a repeat sign on both of them, okay? Sometimes you have something where only one of the numbers is repeating, okay? What's repeating here? Just the 8. So I would show this as 5.8, but the repeat sign is only on the 8 this time, okay? All right, so let's do some examples. If you don't have any of that on your paper, make sure you pause the video because I'm going to look for it. All right, let's do some examples. We'll do some together. All right, so 3/8. So let's divide the numerator by the denominator. All right, 8 can't go into 3, so I have to add a decimal and a 0. All right, 8 goes into 30 3 times. That's 24. Subtract. Every time I subtract, bring down the next number. 8 goes into 60 7 times. That's 56. Subtract. Every time I subtract, bring down the next number. 8 goes into 40 5 times. Finally get 40, and I am finished. Bring my decimal straight up. Okay, so 3/8 is the same thing as 0.375 or 375 thousandths. Again, 3/8 is less than a half, so this number should be less than a half, which it is. Okay, all right, let's do the next one, 7/11. So divide the numerator by the denominator. Okay, 11 cannot go into 7, so I add a decimal and a 0. 11 goes into 76 times. That's 66. Subtract. Bring down my next number. That goes into 43 times. That's 33. I get a 7. Bring down the next number. Uh-oh, I'm starting to see a pattern here. I get a 6. All right, I still see my pattern here. So this keeps happening. So this is repeating. So I can stop. Once I see the pattern, I can stop. Just because you have the same number doesn't doesn't mean it's repeating. You have to see the same pattern here. I see 40, 33, 70, 66. I see the same things. So I can stop. So my answer is 0.63 with a repeat sign on both of them, okay? All right. Pause the video, make sure you have all of this written down, and I want you to do 3 and 4 on your paper. Pause the video and come back when you have your answer. Don't just copy mine. Pause the video and do your own work. All right, check those answers. All right, so this was equal to 0.75 or 75 hundredths, and this was equal to 0.16, and the repeat sign is over the 6. If you had more than 1 6, it doesn't matter. It's fine. Okay, not a big deal. All right. All right, so make sure those are all those examples are written down. Now, one more thing. This is not on your notes page, but I'm going to go through this quickly. There is one other way to turn a fraction to a decimal, but this way doesn't always work, but I just want to show you. So if the denominator in your fraction is a power of 10, then you can easily turn it into a decimal. So if you look at this, this is 5/10. Well, remember, my first number after my decimal is the tenths. So 5/10 is just 0.5. Oh, let me go back. A power of 10 just means like 10 or 100 or 1,000 or 10,000. That's power of 10. All of those tens, powers of tens, that's our decimal system. So that's why it makes it very easy. So since the decimal system is based on the powers of 10, you can easily turn that in. So 66 hundredths, that's just 0.66. And 732 thousandths would be 0.732. The only thing you have to be careful of, if like I said, if I have something over 100, like let's say I have 8 hundredths, okay? 8 hundredths, there's nothing in the tens place, and 8 is in the hundredths, so it's 0.08, okay? So that's just something for you to think about. So if I can easily get a number to as a power of 10, so 8 times 5, so that's 5/10, so that's 0.5, okay? Again, that only works if your denominator will easily come to a power of 10. The other way I showed you with the dividing, the numerator by the denominator always works. So this would always be my go-to, okay? All right, so now that I've said all of that, here is your exit slip. You've got space on the bottom, so you've got 5 problems. So you're going to go over there in the workspace area. You're going to work out your problem, okay? Work it all out, and then go put your answers over on the left side, okay? All right, if you have any questions on that, let me know. No calculators. You are showing your work, okay? You are showing your work. All right, have a great day.